70-69, Richard with 22 points, a game-winning floater that fell, and Florida gets the last stop to close out a win to get to 17-2 on the season. CJ, this game had a lot. You got to give credit to the Gamecocks because it seems like, especially at home, they're going to fight you. They are. They're going to compete. But Florida finds a way. What do you take from this game?
Well, I just think the resilience of Florida to hang in there, and on a night when it didn't feel like it was going for them, to be willing to keep fighting. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of their Missouri game recently, where they got down big early and didn't give up and just kept fighting and scratching and clawing, and they did lose that one, but made enough plays down the stretch in this one. And what I really loved was the play. Not only did Will Richard go make that play at the end, but Alex Condon, setting the Gortat screen to get him open on that last play. I really like Florida's bigs, that they just kind of do. There may be a weakness to sometimes with like defensively, you've seen some post players have success against them, but they seem to do whatever's necessary and don't really care about numbers. And for him to make an unselfish play like that, and Will Richard will get all the glory, but he was a big part of that last second play.
Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game where if you were South Carolina, you probably need to be up by 7+ with a minute left to feel like you had a chance and to feel like you could close this out, because anything less than that, I think, favored Florida. I mean, it's just one of those games where, if you're a team like South Carolina, you probably got to blow it open to not let the pressure towards the end kind of gobble you up like I thought it did. And I thought South Carolina kind of dominated this game for the majority of it in the paint. Murray Boyles was tremendous, and I thought they were the tougher team for the majority of the game. They prioritized the paint on both ends. Florida was missing bunnies. I thought they were impacted by the activity of South Carolina. But look, this game flipped when Florida went to the press with 8 minutes left. The game completely flipped. At the time, I think it was 58-45. Florida's down 13. They get a layup and they go right into the press. And the first possession, Will Richard tips the ball around, gets a steal, gets a layup. And for a team that was struggling around the rim all night to get those types of quality looks off of turnovers, uncontested layups, dunks, I mean, it got them right back in this thing. And so that was the turning point for me. I thought it got Will Richard going to where when he makes that play late, he was in a rhythm by that point. But look, games like this where you're playing an 0-5 team in conference and you're expected to win the game, games like this, if you take care of business against the lower part of the league, if you have aspirations of winning an SEC title, if you're Florida, games like this don't win you the title, but they can lose you the title if you don't pull it out. Because other teams, the Auburns, we saw them already going to South Carolina. Plenty of teams will take care of business at South Carolina. Alabama did as well, kind of ran them out of the gym. So that's why you saw Golden at the end of the game be as demonstrative and emotional as he was, because he knows that this was pretty damn close to being the end of it for the SEC title hopes for Florida. And CJ, you mentioned the resilience, man. They pulled this one out. It was big time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a resilient effort to be down by 13 with just over 8 minutes to go, to put the press on. You're right about the rebounding piece. And for those who don't know it, Florida's tops in the country in rebounding margin. It's them. It's Illinois at the high major level. St. Mary's is in the top 5. Michigan State's in the top 10. Duke's just outside the top 10. But it's Florida and Illinois when we're talking about rebounding margin at over plus 11. And I think that, CJ, that this is the question that I have for you. Because, and it feels like this could change every week. But to me, it's Auburn, and they've more than earned that right, even without Broome, to do what they did last week going 2-0. A lot of people thought they'd take a loss and it'd be okay. It's Alabama for me after the win at Kentucky, what they continually show in terms of the ceiling. Sometimes we haven't always seen it. Sometimes they've had their nights where it doesn't always fully click. And then after that, I would put Florida there if I were to put a pecking order in the Southeastern Conference. Is that how you see it? And what do you believe? Like, it's one thing to have a number 5 next to their name, but what do you believe when we talk about Florida and Final Four? That idea that they can be in San Antonio.
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. I think it's going to come down to their guards, and they've got to make shots, and probably 2 of the 3 have to make shots every night. Like tonight, Martin struggles, goes 1 of 8 from 3. But the other 2, Will Richard hasn't shot it great this year, but he shot it good tonight. And without that, he made a big one down the stretch, and I love the play. Golden ran like a hammer action to get him that shot in the corner that gave them a chance there in that last minute. And I think it's their guards, because I think the teams that are most not susceptible to surprise finishes this year, like upsets, are the teams that have somebody that you can throw it to in the posts. And Florida really doesn't have that. I mean,
No.
I like Alex Condon. He's a nice player, but they don't really have that. So they are so reliant on those guards to score for them. And, it looked like they were going to get them tonight. But, Mike made a great point. Like the press saved them. And I do think Florida, they've got the athletes that can just kind of fly around, and that'll keep them in every game. And like, they can kind of make it helter-skelter and succeed in that kind of environment. But I do think, like not having a post guy that you can just throw it to and bail you out on nights when you're not going to shoot it well, that's maybe something that they're lacking.
Yeah, I thought tonight was a really good learning lesson for them, because you're not going to not every game is going to be Kentucky 106-100, where it's just get it and go, get it out of the net, get up and down. Like, this was a really, really off-kilter game for them, because they still got in their rhythm of trying to get the ball out of the net and play with pace and get downhill and get quick possessions. But then South Carolina just drags you right back into the mud. Long possession, 25-second possession. How focused are you going to be? Because against Kentucky, both teams are going to play with pace, where if you concede a couple of defensive possessions, it may not be as big of a deal, because it's going to be a 170 possession game. Whereas this one is going to be less than that. So you need to be a little bit more dialed in on the defensive end. Like, every offensive rebound that South Carolina gets is a backbreaker, because it's another 20 seconds you got to guard. And so that's what I'm looking for Florida, is just the, not falling into the trap of like, hey, we're just playing with this pace and we're getting the ball out of the net, and like really, really locking in, because they have the pieces. Like, I actually really like the makeup of their front court. Like Chinyelu and Condon and those guys. I mean, they're really physical guys. And if you're a team that's going to chuck like Florida chucks, you need guys that can really rebound at a high level. And those guys do that. So they serve a purpose for this team. And yeah, I mean, I think being able to win in multiple ways. I mean, people talk about that all the time. Can you win in a variety of ways? Winning in this way on the road tonight, when you're out rebounded, like flat out rebounded, which I don't think anybody would have expected going into this game for Florida. But you do that, you're still able to pull out a road win. So I think, Florida is still, to me, a Final Four caliber team. But CJ makes a good point. Like, it's is Clayton going to come down off of no passes and just, chuck a 3 off the bounce? How many times is he going to do that a game? How many possessions is he going to concede? Because we know what it is when he gets rolling. So he can win games by himself when he gets rolling. And Will Richard getting going. I actually like the wrinkle thrown in that press. I would like to see it from them even when they're not down 13. Like, that Will Richard that's a guy with a 6'9" wingspan, 6'10" wingspan, top of that press. That's really, really disruptive. And so I thought that was an interesting wrinkle that Golden threw in there tonight.